There we go. Let's get Facebook in here, rocking and rolling. I'll see if this other one goes. There we go. Welcome in. Welcome in. It is a Victory Monday, as Denver Luke says there. I am Nik Kendell, joined by Erick Trickel. Erick, man, what a gigantic, improbable victory for the Broncos. Not improbable going into it, but improbable going into the fourth quarter. I think I saw the stat. Denver is now 2-116 in games.
112.
112. Okay, excuse me. Thank you. In games that they're going in down 14 in the fourth quarter, and a win's a win. What matters after two games of the Broncos, or well, two of the last three games, the Broncos having their heart ripped out on a last-second field goal to lose. Denver enters the first game this season down in the fourth quarter. The first time they've been down in the fourth quarter all season, come back and get a win, and I think a statement win, and showing what the potential of this team can be. And something we've said, obviously, we will analyze and be critical of the games when they are in front of us, but I think you and I have both been pretty real about it. It is a week-by-week league, and something that the Sean Payton Broncos have shown, small sample size, but in 3 years, is that first quarter, they're kind of getting going, but it's not exactly who they are at the beginning of the season. It's what they're building towards. And if they can look like this going into Philly, Denver's first win in Philadelphia since 1987, then Denver has a chance to hang with anybody. I'm not going to say Super Bowl contender, Super Bowl favorite or anything, but they can with anybody any given week. And that is so exciting. And everything is set up for this team in front of them now in a really wide disparity AFC. I think like 6 in the AFC only have one win. So Denver's obviously long way to go, but this win sets things up for Denver to go on a run here now that they're 3-2.
Yeah, and I think that you can say that it was a little improbable. So I don't know if you caught this as well. Teams who are on the road a week before London were only 2-14 coming into this week, and now they're 3-14. And so it's hard to win on the road. And even on that whole thing of Denver not being who they are, this was a game where they still only played really 2 quarters. The second and third quarter were still awful. They ran 40 plays in the second and third quarter. 30 plays, and they only picked up 81 yards on that. So it is still just, you can imagine kind of how good this offense can be if they can be a little bit more consistent throughout the whole game. And of those 40 plays, 21 of them, so they ended up having a little bit of balance there because of what they did in the third quarter. But the second quarter, of the 18 plays they ran in the second quarter, punted the whole time. They got a couple first downs. They only had 1 3 and out, but 18 total plays in the second quarter for 64 yards. I mean, there's a lot to be positive about, and we're definitely going to get into that. But I just can't how good this offense can be if they can show up every single quarter and be a little bit more consistent. They could be a team that could pretty consistently put up, probably 30 points a game. And we still haven't seen that yet, even in this win where they showed so much resolve of coming back in the fourth quarter. But I want to see them put a whole game together still yet. Like, they haven't done it.
I mean, maybe the Bengals game, but that's
it's a
very inferior opponent there. Max coming in, good morning. Got our guy Todd in the house. Jake, happy Victory Monday. Great to see. Good to see. Steven Bumgartner says, let's freaking bow. String guy in the house. Good morning. Not sure what Peyton was angry about with Ingram, but it seems to have motivated him. Any news on the Ben Powers injury? Typically, wait until Wednesday. You start to get the injury report. I think the big positive coming out of the game, and McGlinchey hobbled for a little bit. I think he is okay. Yeah, John Frankenmeyer's a non-contact knee injury, so everybody holding their breath. He comes back out there as well, so I haven't heard anything on the injury front for the Broncos, but Wednesday we'll start to get an injury report and everything there. If you've heard anything on that front, Erick, obviously when it's like a lot of times when it's catastrophic season ending, you'll hear pretty quickly, like the day after, so we'll keep an ear out today, but I don't think that'll be the case.
Yeah, I actually hadn't heard anything about the Ben Powers injury. I didn't realize he didn't travel with the team to London until just now. I went over to see if there's any update on it. Biceps injury. Ended up playing every single game, not traveling to London. With the team, from what it looks like there's still a chance he could travel here in the next couple days and fly over. And just going to get something checked on, but doesn't seem super likely. So we'll have to keep an ear out for that and see what's going on with that.
Yeah, and Jarrett Stidham also not traveling with the team to London because him and his wife are expecting. So hopefully everybody stays healthy against a rather poor Jets team, but still talented. And Aaron Glenn's gonna, it'll be man defense. Although the Broncos have been better against man than zone this season. Dave Glassman, great to see you, Dave. Oh, if it'll come up. There we go. Gatorade Gaming. Good morning, Nik and Eric and Dylan. What's good, Broncos country? A dub. Feeling good. Fallen Sloth says, good morning, Broncos country. Holy cow. I think that's the happiest I've been since the season started. Well, that's great to hear, Fallen Sloth. Appreciate you coming in. Conga's in the house. Biggest win this season. But I'm sure they need to talk about the Falcons. Oh, he's talking about me being gone. Actually, it was more me needing to get more coffee. Dog's joining me right now, which is great. But we're in complete disarray. The moving stuff came here Saturday, and unpacking a house with a 21-month-old is, I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend. Craig Smith, good morning, Broncos country. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. Coach Chris, one of our absolute favorites and always a big-time contributor, says, this game gave me every emotion imaginable. Imagine this team could play like when they put it all together. Happy Monday. I hope they take this experience to London. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. This is the potential of the Broncos team. When they put together turnover-free football on the offensive side of the ball, with the defense playing the way it did, especially in the second half, you can beat anybody. I know that some of this, and if you go over the Eagles, I'm sure they're talking about missed opportunities, like what they ran. Saquon only had 9 touches in this game, and like how many 3-and-outs, like pass. Like, I don't know exactly what they're doing. I know they had some injuries in the offensive line. Saquon had a little ding as well, but at the end of the day, the results are the results. Just like I don't really give the Broncos credence or listening to it. Oh, we beat ourselves in a game like versus the Colts or Chargers. What is the final score when it comes up? You can't have it both ways. So Denver ends up winning this one. And when you look at the stats, Eric, I mean, they beat the Eagles down. I think most of the credit should go to the defense. I mean, what they did in this one, especially in the second half, Cooper, Allen, DJ Jones, and Bonitto. I mean, dare I say, maybe not favorite, but undoubtedly in the race for Defensive Player of the Year, on pace to break the sack record. If he does that, of course, he's going to win it. But it starts with me with the defense. I know everybody's excited about the offense and what that could mean because long-term, we said it 1,000 times, this team goes as far as the quarterback goes. But this one showed that the defense can man up. And we had some questions, with how Justin Herbert played on his head, to use some hockey terminology there for a goalie, and how the Colts moved up and down the field. But man, Denver's defense got it done. And without turnovers, Eric, that's the surprising one. I mean, we're still waiting. I think this defense still has another gear because they are not taking the ball away at a high clip right now.
Yeah, not only do they have that other gear with the being able to get turnovers, they have another gear with cutting back on some of the penalties.
Yeah,
and it was a game where, on that note, got a little uncomfortable there on that Eagles last drive when Skinner got called for the penalty, and then there was an opening for another penalty to be called for them. They would have put them right up on the goal line. Glad that they didn't, because penalties were something that I was having an issue with, and it takes a lot for me to really complain about penalties and in games, but this is one where there's a lot of complaints. But on that note, turnovers, that is the next place, and there was a couple opportunities. Hufanga, there was a pick six that really bounced off his hands. So it's just you gotta get around to making those plays, and that's something that elite or even great defenses do, is they make those plays. And Denver's defense is just right on that cusp, because there was another opportunity as well that they could have had, and they just didn't capitalize on it. I think it was Brandon Jones. I think it might have been there on that final drive of the Eagles.
Yeah, it was.
I can't remember exactly, where he got really close to it. Not as close as Hufanga. And then Nik Bonitto, as somebody who's doubted him so long, he is more than legit as a pass rusher. As a pass rusher, not an edge, as a pass rusher, he is a top 5 pass rusher in the NFL. And there's always going to be issues with him as a run defender, but he more than makes up for it with his play as a pass rusher. And there was a lot of back and forth with Jordan Mailata throughout the game until that fourth quarter, where it seemed like Nik Bonitto was winning almost every single snap. And Nik Bonitto, even last year, he consistently hits a second gear or a third gear even when we get late in the game. And he showed that against the Eagles. So hat tip to him. I think he is right now the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, he's killing it. I haven't watched every game, so I can't say that for sure, but he has been unbelievable and having a special season for the Broncos. I don't want to overlook too. I feel like Bonitto coming in, worried about the size, the length, the pocket crunching ability. He's in the perfect scheme to maximize what he does best, but that's good coaching and identification and just matching everything up. So I'm not going to take away from him for that. But I was equally impressed with Cooper in this game, Eric, especially with how good Lane Johnson is, the pocket crunching ability of the pass rush. So they had to be more disciplined and play through the blocker. And Lane Johnson is one of the best. I mean, gosh, he's one of the best right tackles to do it, especially. I mean, he's going to be all decade right tackle. And he had while the stats sheet won't necessarily show it, he had Lane on his heels a good bit in this one. So shout out to Cooper as well. A hell of a game for him. Miguel Santasteven coming in, $5. Sup, fellas? Been a good minute. Hope all is well and much needed. Go Broncos. Go Broncos indeed. And we got Coach Chris coming in with the big time one saying, we all know how well Bonitto's playing. 7.5 sacks is crazy. But one person who I think is having a career year is Allen. His pressures are really causing havoc. Endless motor. Nick's great to have you back. Yeah, I'm here. This won't be my final location as far as what room I will be in. Got to figure all that up. But the other 2 bedrooms do not have lights. So it'd be really kind of weird if I just had a spotlight on me in a dark room recording the show. So this is what we're doing right now, much to the dismay of my partner, my wife, who's kicked her out of the bedroom for this. But no, we're rocking and rolling. Good to see you, Coach. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming in. And yeah, again, I just want to stay. I know a lot of people's instinct will be to go and talk about the offense and everything like that, but I just want to stay on the defense for a little bit as well. I mean, we talked about Franklin. I thought that it was weird. I feel like the Eagles didn't do enough to really maximize their advantage, I guess, with the Broncos in the middle. Singleton got beat on that touchdown to Goddard. I know Goddard was dealing with an injury, but and you had that big touchdown to Saquon as well, but it felt like a game where with how Singleton's been moving, Stranad, that one big run that Barkley had, it wasn't just, Bonitto getting moved off and also Jackson, who got really moved off, but like Justin Stranad got ass planted on that one. So I was surprised they didn't just attack and spam the middle of the field. I'm not really sure what the Eagles' offensive game plan was, but it didn't work. But shout out to the Broncos. I don't know if you saw the splits, Eric. I don't have the stats exactly in front of me, but first half, not really working, obviously giving up some big plays. The Broncos went from predominantly man coverage to more of a 50-50, 60-40 zone split, and it really messed with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. Obviously, with the ISO weapons that they have and Jalen Hurts' running ability, when you play man and you get those guys, if you get a playmaker in space, it can be a problem. Broncos really didn't have that zone ability in their back pocket last season, and we haven't really seen it so much this year. I don't know why they called cover 1 robber on that 3rd and 17 Devonta Smith, but second half, absolved. They go back to more zone, and the Eagles just could not move the football. Second half, how many 3 and outs did we have here from the Eagles? You had
5.
that touchdown, but after that, the second half, their second possession, a 5 plays punt. Third possession, 3 plays punt, 3 and out. Fourth quarter, first possession, punt, 3 plays punt. Second one, 3 plays punt. And then the last one, they had 6 plays, but they had to score a touchdown to win. So incredible job by the defense. Want to give Vance Joseph a shout out. Want to give Patrick Surtain a shout out as well. And I know that he's been maligned and we want to see better. I feel bad for him because it's kind of a no-win situation. And maybe this is my bias coming out, Eric, but Moss had a tough assignment. These might have been the toughest 2 games for the entire year for him with Higgins and Devonta Smith. And he got beat a couple times, especially the man coverage stuff. But in the end, only giving up 17 points to the Eagles. Devonta's keeping them out of the end zone. Did enough. So, I mean, we want to see better from him as well. Devonta Smith, 114 yards on 10 targets with a 52 long. I mean, that 52-yard play is a super explosive. You can't have that. But in the end, it was enough. Obviously, more than enough.
Yeah, I mean, the defense played great, and they one thing that helped in that second half was they flipped things up with what Vance Joseph was calling, and they kind of we saw it and Sean Payton did this too. They kind of went into their bag a little bit and went deep into their playbook in the second half with what they were calling, and it worked out well for them. And they really switched it up. They showed that adjustments are a thing that they can do, and especially when what they normally do isn't working. And Vance Joseph especially was able to switch it up while still being aggressive with his calls. And the Eagles, as you were saying, the Eagles didn't really attack the middle of the field like they should have, but that's something that they don't do a whole lot in the first place. We often talk about Bo Nix working the middle of the field. Jalen Hurts is almost as bad when it comes to working the middle of the field. He had a game this year where he never even threw a single pass to the middle of the field. And then there's like a couple other times, like only one game or another game he had 3 attempts in the middle of the field. Another game he had like 6 or 7 out of it, in a game where he threw it 32 times. So he is not one who really uses the middle of the field. It's very much those shots to the outside with those getting the ball quickly to his receivers, letting the receivers go make a play. If I remember correctly, he has one of the lowest air yards per attempt in the NFL right now, because he's just basically throwing it short and letting his receivers go make a play. So the lack of middle of the field, I want to say, was more so because of the issues in the Eagles offense with what they do. And Denver was able to counter that there, and especially in the second half when they switched it up. But it's still a opening, and the Eagles just weren't able to overcome and adjust to that. And part of that is, again, Jalen Hurts' issues when it comes to targeting the middle of the field, something that he's always had throughout his career. And Riley Moss, you touched on it. This was a very tough matchup for him. I kind of thought that they would go about it a little bit differently and not have Riley Moss on one-on-one coverage with Devontae Smith a whole lot. And they did, and they were trusting with it. And he allowed some catches, but he showed the resolve and he bounced back, and he owned a mistake on that one deep shot to Devontae Smith that I think got called back. He's like, I wasn't supposed to press, and I pressed anyways. And I knew right off the snap that I shouldn't have been pressing and I should have been off. He said, that was my mistake. But it wasn't just that play. There was a couple other big ones, but he showed the resolve, came back, and ended up putting together a solid game there, especially in the second half. And when you don't allow only allow 7 points in the second half, then your secondary is stepping up and they're improving, especially with how easily it seemed like that the Eagles were moving the ball in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Shane coming in saying we believe. We'll get into Bo Nix here in a second. I did want to give, again, a little bit more credit to, or shout out to, Vance Joseph on the second half. The Broncos, from what I counted, I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but from anecdotally, from my vision, it felt like they started to be a more rush 4 team, and they were picking and choosing where guys were coming from. And that's one of the benefits you have when you have guys like Cooper and Bonitto, maybe not the biggest players, but they're not, look like a newborn deer out in space trying to cover the flat, or, hang with a running back for a second, or a tight end just for a second. So Vance Joseph getting creative with how he was sending pressure, still getting 4 and dialing guys up. And that was also with utilizing not just the linebackers, but the nickel defender as well. You saw Jaquan McMillan, I think maybe even Barron as well, utilized in the pass. And final shout out on the defense before we get more on the offensive side of the ball. Barron, big plays there. Obviously, you'd want to see a little bit more from your first round pick, especially for a team that's a contender year one. That's not the point of the draft for your first year contribution, but, to make you feel a little better. And it was good to see Barron out there making a few plays and getting that confidence. Broncos have what we call good problems right now with enough quality defensive backs, but really happy to see Barron out there making some plays.
Yeah, and he's had a little bit of a better season than people want to give him credit for, even though he's being limited. He's only allowed 4 catches for 18 yards on the season while being targeted, I think, 9 times. And when you're playing limited, that's quite a bit. In this game, he only allowed 1 catch and had that big pass breakup and had another big play against the run there. And I think he only played 10 snaps. So he definitely had a positive impact on this defense in a very limited snap count. He's showing those signs of progress that you want to see, because if you go back and watch his limited snaps in week 1 and week 2, and keep going on. He's progressively gotten better each week, and that's kind of what you want to see. So it wouldn't surprise me if here before too long we're starting to see a little bit more of a 50-50 split between him and McMillan, and maybe even starting to see Barron on the field even more, especially with the trade deadline coming up.
Yeah.
I'm at that point where I wouldn't trade away McMillan, but he is a restricted free agent after the season, so there's still a lot of value with that. He's playing extremely well, which is raising his value as well. He's probably been the best corner for the Broncos throughout the first 5 games. So there's a lot of positive value there for him in the trade market. And while I wouldn't do it, I wouldn't be surprised if George Paton is at least listening to calls from other teams wanting to improve their nickel corner play.
I think that's more of an off-season conversation where you can go a different direction versus taking with this team, especially with the restricted tag still. He's cost-controlled. Now, if somebody calls and offers a second-round pick, maybe you're listening, but that's you don't typically see veterans traded for that kind of capital. So who knows? But yeah, overall, I mean, the defense, just some of the stats on this one before we get more to the offense. And everybody loves the offense, but this was a Broncos offense sleptwalked through the first 3 quarters, and then the big 2 touchdown drives plus my favorite call, not the best play, but my favorite call of the Sean Payton era so far, going for 2. I mean, have you seen this? The South Park stand with his you know what in the wheelbarrow?
Mm-hmm.
Sean Payton, this one going for 2, and great design. We had this conversation this morning on the Falcons show with Scott about the red zone offense for the Falcons being bad. And it's like, you know what? I've become completely offensive call pilled on that one. Cause I know I see all these stats about Bo Nix and the passing touchdowns and whatnot. And don't get me wrong, like he has to execute at the end of the day, but like how many wide freaking open red zone goal to go plays in the past game he's had where it was never that I can't remember it ever being that easy. So again, Bo Nix gets credit in the offensive line, pass catcher getting open, but some of the calls are just beautiful. And Sean Payton, the 2-point conversion goes with that as well. You have to execute. Franklin has to run the correct route. Bo Nix has to put in the right spot in that angle. It's not short, but it's not an easy throw. But man, unbelievable. That 2-point conversion, balls in the wheelbarrow. Sean Payton, God bless you. That you're either the hero or the GOAT with one like that. But the defensive stats, Broncos only holding the Eagles to 16 first downs, 2 rushing first downs. God, that's unbelievable. 2 for 11 on 3rd down in the game, holding the Eagles. Now, the Eagles did get it some explosive pass plays. They beat Denver in terms of yardage and yards per pass in the pass game. Yards per play overall, they had more explosives, and Denver didn't win the turnover. So if you told me Denver loses the explosives and doesn't win the turnover battle in Philly, I'd have said there's no way they win. They do end up winning. And why is that? The rushing discrepancy. Holding the Eagles, the 3rd down obviously as well, but holding the Eagles to 45 rush yards with that offensive line, with Saquon Barkley, with the offensive line, it's not been playing as well this season. But Denver, without Malcolm Roach, with the linebacker issues they have, I never would have foreseen them having the run defensive output that they had in this game. So again, we've been here for a bit now, Eric, and it's all been defense. But I mean, I'm blown away. What a game by them. And if the defense plays like this, granted, again, some of the play calling for the Eagles, but that's one game, whatever. Like they are paid to win too. The defense plays like this, Denver can go up against anybody. And as long as they can keep it close and the offense can execute like they did there, a couple drives, yeah, you got a chance, man. You got a chance. And 3-2, the discrepancy between the teams in the AFC right now, very polarized. Sky's the limit for this Broncos team.
Yeah, I mean, they still have so much room to grow. Penalties, the play at the linebacker position, particularly Alex Singleton. I know you and I have different views on Justin Strnad, and he definitely still has some issues, and we saw a couple of those issues against the Eagles. But he has been a solid starting linebacker for the Broncos through 5 games. And Singleton, I mean, he's chained solid games together, and against the Bengals and now against Philly. Wasn't perfect, but expecting perfect play from the linebacker position is unacceptable, I guess. Shouldn't be the case, because outside of Fred Warner, basically, not realistic. That's the wording I was looking for. Because outside of Fred Warner, you're not getting it. So it's been serviceable the last 2 games, and the defensive line, they manhandled their job against, I think, who's been a bottom 10 offensive line in the NFL this year. The Eagles have not been good, particularly on the inside with Tyler Steen and Landon Dickerson. and Landon Dickerson ended up going out, leaving the game, making them worse. But it wasn't just that. They have a good, I guess would be a better way to put it, offensive tackle duo entering this game this year. Lane Johnson's definitely been not as good as he normally is, and Denver won that matchup as well. So they just absolutely dominated the offensive line and penalties and just cutting back on some of the explosive plays they allow and generating turnovers. This defense could be exceptional if they can just take those few extra steps and just get a little bit more out of them, because we're seeing the potential of a outstanding defense. Just got to get there. A little bit more to do.
Yeah. Switching to the offensive side of the ball, we did want to say hello to Coach Chris again. Sent 2 defensive players I thought had a good game, Rick Bill and a Barron. Yep, everyone needs to get off the Moss hate. He is what we knew he was. We also need to point out the penalties. Holy cow, they are killing us. Yeah, penalties were bad. It's not just the defense, not just the offense, but in the second half, I mean, every single kickoff or punt, it felt like had a freaking penalty on it as well. So you're starting back 10 yards. So got to be better there. Something they have to clean up. Again, I hate to be that person like, oh man, imagine how good they'd be if they cleaned up the penalties, but like there is room to grow there. And right now it is 5 games of penalties like the Broncos have is definitely a trend. It's not a one-off. So hopefully it's something they can correct and get a little bit focused in on. I don't mind it. I'm going to sound a little bit talking out of both sides of my mouth here, Eric. I don't mind it as much on the defense if it comes from as long as it's not extracurriculars after the whistle. If they're a little bit grabby sometimes, like trying to jump the snap count or anything like that, where it's mentality, aggressive, attacking related penalties, that's one thing. But the misalignments, the special teams penalties, those pre-snap, those ones freaking drive me insane. And Denver does need to clean that up. And again, another area, if you told me Denver loses the penalties in this one, 55 yards to 121 yards. I mean, that's substantial. That's can't have it. So I know Denver's with how they play defense, some of the holdings and pass interferences, you're gonna have to live with some of it, live by the sword, die by the sword, but needs to be cleaned up for sure.
Yeah, and 121 penalty yards to 55 with only 3 more penalties. That's the big thing there is what's the penalty difference? And there was a point where Denver had, I think, 2 fewer penalties than Philadelphia did and already had 30 more penalty yards. And I'm with you. Like, it depends on the penalty for the defense. Like, some of them, if it's the aggressive mentality that they have and that's what it is, all right, fine. As long as it's not, a stupid tripping coming downhill and grabbing the receiver's ankle or body slamming them or, after the play, as long as it's not those types of penalties, then I'm not going to be as mad about it. But special teams, alignment penalties, I do give a break to wide receivers with alignment penalties, or for rookies, for alignment penalties, because they're still, figuring things out. But veterans, and there's been a lot on the veterans of this offense that are just completely unacceptable. And real quick, talking about the defense, Jason Bonney saying it was 100% on VJ on the 3rd and 17 that Moss gave up. Press coverage with no help on 3rd and 17. Yeah, Moss talked about that one, and he said that it was on him. And he wasn't supposed to press, and he pressed. It wasn't Vance Joseph. It was Moss made the mistake. He shouldn't have been pressing. And you can tell that when you watch the whole play. Moss shouldn't have been pressing, and he chose to do so, which you do gotta, I guess, put some blame on Vance Joseph for that, because he gives the cornerbacks the freedom to make that decision. Patrick Surtain is one who does that a lot, and I think he talked about it that last week, might have been the week before, about having that freedom to choose when to play off and when to press with how Vance Joseph calls the plays. He doesn't fully dictate that with everybody, with every single play. But it's nice that I in my opinion, it's a good thing that you have a defensive corner that's putting that trust into his corners to decide if they want to press or not. And it doesn't always work out. And even with Patrick Surtain, it doesn't always work out.
That's absolutely correct. So again, all defense here for a bit. I do think that, again, we've been so offensive starved, and team goes as far as the quarterback, that we're always going to be biased towards giving more credit to the offense. But this one, the defense, after that first drive in the 3rd quarter, where once it went to 17-3, I'm like, with this offense, the way they've looked so far, there's just no way. But credit to the defense, man. They had some real fortitude out there in this one, because it would have been easy to be like, oh, 17-3 offense isn't doing diddly for us, just like kind of losing your focus a bit. They tightened up and they got the ball back to the Broncos and gave them a chance. And when the Broncos had a chance, they executed at the end. Michael Ronquillo, good morning. Nik and Eric, great to see you. Hope you're doing well. We got DeAndre coming in saying Victory Monday as well. Appreciate you, DeAndre. Yeah, Bo Nix, again, the first 3 quarters, I definitely gave him a hard time for that first sack he took, Eric, where it took him out of field goal range and took points off the board. Looking back, I mean, Nix, you don't want him to take the sack there, but Quinn got absolutely olayed on that one with the twist. He followed, I think it was Carter, too far and couldn't recover. It was like a free in his face sack on Nix. So I'm going to put that one as much, if not more so, on Quinn and the offensive line. Still, you got to know situationally anything but a sack here, because a sack, or I guess no turnovers too, but a sack takes points off the board. There's another one where intentional grounding took points off the board, but the fourth quarter, I mean, we have the stats here from PFF. Bo Nix in the fourth quarter, again, small sample size. I know everybody's like, oh, this is what he could be, but you're only as good as what you do, drive by drive. I'm not a golfer, Eric, but I've heard people use the golf analogy before. Like, if you play 3 really good holes and the rest of them are bad, your score is not going to be good at the end. What makes a good golfer is hole by hole staying par or better. So obviously, Bo Nix in the fourth quarter, we don't have to be this level, but we need to replicate it. But he goes 9 for 10, 126 yards, 1 touchdown, and executing 3 for 3 scoring drives. Again, great design. Did enough to get it done in the end. And I'll say it, outplayed Jalen Hurts, who I'm not really in the Jalen Hurts as a no doubt top 5, top 10 quarterback. I've never been there. If you can't execute the drop back pass game, I'm going to have a hard time with you unless you are a Michael Vick-esque runner, and Hurts, he's a good runner. He's not that. So again, Bo Nix and the offense do enough in the end, and shout outs to him for protecting the football and executing when they had to have it. With how jittery he's been this season, overamped again this game as well, missing open guys down the field early on. He executed when it was matter, and this is definitely the most important quarter of his career so far, and really, really incredible to see he can deliver, and hopefully we can build upon it going forward. Again, I'm not expecting 10 for 10 or whatever, 9 for 10 to be the baseline for a quarter statistic, but he can do it, and Sean Payton and him can get it done. So, man, huge. I'm just over the moon with what that looked like. I'll give a little bit of a pass for the first 3 quarters, especially the first 2 quarters as well. And there were plays there. He had some good plays. Don't get me wrong. In the first half, there were some big boy throws in there.
Yeah, this is a game where I would be putting on the fourth quarter and saying on the film room and going to Bo, this is what we want from you. The decision making was clean and consistent and smart, even on third down, which to me, coming out of this game, that's probably my biggest gripe with Bo, is how aggressive he's being on 3rd and 5 and shorters. Those not quite mediums, but not quite shorts. He went for it all on 3 or 4 of them in the first half and failed when you had the guy open for the first down. Sometimes you got to be smarter with your decision making on third downs. Take what the defense is giving you, get the first down, get a new set of downs. That's how you can chain, you chain first downs. It's how you move the ball. It's how you put points on the board. That's my big gripe with Bo Nix coming out of this one, just some of that decision making. But he, in that second half, even in the third quarter, he was a little bit better with it, a little bit more consistent, being smarter with where he was going with the ball. He wasn't trying to force things, wasn't trying to. It almost seemed like we've had those issues with the deep shots, and he was trying to force those deep shots in this one. That's kind of what it seemed like early on. And then he kind of settled down and was just taking what the defense was giving you, being a little bit better with the placement on your throws, a lot better with the footwork, not being super jittery in the pocket, even though pressure was getting to him. He wasn't being as jittery or antsy in the pocket. Very much cleaner in that fourth quarter. And it shows when you go 9 for 10 and do what he did, like that. You don't do that without playing a cleaner game. So hat tip to him for this, and the whole team in general. I mean, you kind of touched on it. It would have been easy to basically give in and look ahead to London and the Jets there with how the first half went, especially the second quarter, and even how the third quarter was going. Because even though they were starting to move the ball a little bit, they weren't putting points on the board. And going into the fourth quarter, down 14 on the road, it's very easy to throw in the towel essentially. And so much fight to them. Bo Nix especially, he really rallied the team, and they showed it during the game that a clip of him on the sidelines. They're trying to get everybody going, and it did. And he bounced back, and that's what you want. And hopefully he can start putting complete games together. Because as I said earlier in the show, is this offense, we saw what they can do. We saw their potential for it. And again, 9 for 10, doing that all throughout the game, going 36 for 40. It's not realistic. But if you can get what he's doing in the fourth quarter and get more that every single quarter, this offense can be amazing. And so just keeping that level of play, that kind of play with the placement, the clean footwork, the placement, the decision making, clean general play from the quarterback. Oh, this offense can be great. And he just showed it in the fourth quarter. Let's just put a whole game together.
Yeah, and I feel like it all starts with the quarterback and Sean Payton. I mean, it's that marriage. That's what's driving the offense. I would be remiss not to give credit to the offensive line for another incredible game. Now, Bo Nix did have 2 sacks in this one. It wasn't a perfect game, but you were going against, granted, a dinged up Jalen Carter, but one of the 3 best interior pass rushers in football right now, and a Eagles team that has been pretty darn good getting after the passer. Now, granted, they lost 2 of their pieces from their Super Bowl team, but still, I mean, the offensive line had a great game. I don't remember the Broncos. What really plagued them the first 3 weeks, Eric, was the offensive run game was so boom or bust. And it constantly, it was great to get, a 40-yard run, a 60-yard run here or there. Something this team has really lacked for the ground game, but how consistently it was 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 11. Didn't feel like that was the case in this one. Now, granted, you still didn't have the overly dynamic rushing game from an individual. J.K. Dobbins going 20 for 79 yards is not incredible. Harvey 4 for 12, but that was it was enough on the offensive line, and pass protection as well had an awesome game. So I still have 2 more points I really did want to touch on, Eric, before we start to wrap it on up. But I think we had to give some credit for the offensive line. That is right now the identity of this team is no doubt the pass rush and the defensive front and the waves that they have up front and how much they're winning, paired with having a cornerback like Patrick Surtain. It's the marriage, Russian coverage match. But after that, it's the offensive line. And are they blowing teams off the ball? No, but they're a top 5 unit. And when you are consistently setting your offense up with a solid offensive line that is playing in concert and not committing penalties, Wattenberg, shout out to you for that one this week. When we, crap on you last week, we deserve a shout out for that one. I don't think he had a single penalty in this one. But yeah, the really good shout out for the offensive line.
Yeah, they did a great job. For all the talk about running back pass blocking, this was a game that they didn't do so well.
No.
Dobbins had a couple rough ones. Harvey had a really awful one.
Cooper almost strip sack was Harvey, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then Bidet had a bad one. So the running back pass blocking was a negative in this one, but the offensive line, they did a really good job. And the tight ends too. The tight ends, this was one of the better games from the tight ends overall. Adam Troutman had a good game against Cincinnati. I shrugged it off a little bit being Cincinnati, but he was a little bit better in this one. Still not perfect, but some issues. But the offensive line, Garrett Bowles, he continues being phenomenal. And there was a thing where there was a 3-play sequence, I think it was, from Garrett Bowles that had this been, 2019, 2020, would have completely derailed his game. He got called for a penalty, gave up a pressure, and then I think he kind of whiffed on a run block, I think is what was the third one. And those are the games that typically you see the mental aspect of it get to him and he collapses, but he ended the game with that one pressure on that sequence and that one penalty and did significantly better in the running game throughout. Quinn Miners had a couple rough goes of it. Luke Wattenberg, hat tip to him for bouncing back and probably playing one of the better games of his career against Philadelphia. Ben Powers was great. He's been having a really good season, and not quite getting the credit for it. He's been the second best offensive lineman for the Broncos and been so important for their running game, and especially when they're doing, like whams or traps. He's been so successful for it. Alex Palczewski getting involved in it. I like to see that. I would like to see more of them. And that quick gripe with Sean Payton with this one. It really bothered me that they didn't start using jumbo until midway through the third quarter against a team who stays in light boxes. They have they're like 95% light box or light or nickel, I guess. Well, not light boxes, but 95% nickel, because they want Cooper DeJean out there on the field so often. And you're not taking advantage of that by going jumbo. You're not taking advantage of that by playing big, especially after you just did that against Cincinnati with such success. I was a little frustrated with that, but we started to see it, and we started to have the success that you would expect against a team that runs so heavy nickel. But offensive line, they played a great game. I think they were credited with 1 sack allowed, and they gave up, I think, 13 total pressures or 14 total pressures on the game, which is not great, but it's a solid game from them. And individually, I think Quinn Miners was the weak link. Mike McGlinchey wasn't much better, but Wattenberg, Powers, Bowles, they played a really good game against a matchup that I don't think was super tough on them, especially with Jalen Carter not 100%, but a game where it would have been easy for Philadelphia to have that kind of resurgence with them at home with Jalen Carter. I think he's like, I'd say about 90% as he's working back. So it was a tougher game than expected, but they still did well.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, a few more points here, Eric. Cortland Sutton, good job. Quinyon Mitchell had been one of the best 3 cornerbacks in football, and he almost had a pick 6. We talked about the Hufanga, almost pick 6. Mitchell almost had one going the other way as well. Good job playing defensive back there, Sutton on that one, but he ends up with a pretty darn good game overall. 8 receptions on 10 targets, 99 yards, no touchdowns. Almost broke that 100-yard mark, but he is on pace for a career year. And again, is he one of the, truly best top 10 wide receivers in football? I don't think he's got the explosiveness after the catch to really qualify for that kind of guy. But can he function as a number 1 and an X in an offense with other options for directions the ball can go? Abso-freaking-lutely. So shout out to Sutton in this one. He had a heck of a game. He had that drop that was a perfectly placed pass on the first drive of the game, second drive of the game. He more than absolved that one, and he had some really critical big catches, some tough ones in contested areas down the stretch. And shout out to the offensive scheme to give him those, isolated jump ball shots. Shout out to Bo Nix for giving him a chance. Football is the most dependent sport out there. So everybody has to execute for stuff like that to happen. But shout out to Sutton. And also, it's a small sample size, but I was really excited to see Evan Ingram start to get a little bit more involved as well. The great touchdown run from him. 4 receptions, 33 yards on 6 attempts. So nothing like, being peppered with targets, but, starting to peel back that onion. Good to get him out there and involved, and hopefully we can start to see that evolve and grow as the season progresses. This was hopefully an appetizer for things that we can see down the line for him. Right now, he's a fun, useful piece for the offense in this game, I would say. Love to see a little bit more from him, and I expect that to come.
Yeah, with Cortland Sutton, that I talked about Bo Nix on taking those shots on the third and longs. So one of them was to Cortland Sutton on that first drive that should have been completed. It was right in the bucket and went right through it. But Cortland Sutton, he ended up catching 5 of 7 targets on Quinyon Mitchell, who I talked about on Friday night, and you just mentioned. I think he's been a top 3 corner. I think he's probably been the best corner in the NFL so far up into this game. And all 5 of Sutton's catches went for first downs. He had the one drop, and then there was the one pass breakup where the two targets that he didn't catch on Quinyon Mitchell, and the one where the pass breakup where Sutton should get a pass breakup as well for breaking up the interception. And he was absolutely great. The wide receiver play in general was really good. Marvin Mims made an impact. Evan Ingram, not a wide receiver, but more of a wide receiver than tight end, finally saw it. I would be really curious as to what he and Sean Payton got so heated with each other about at the half, because Evan Ingram hasn't done anything to really show that he needs to be targeted more up until this point, and Sean Payton just wasn't really utilizing him. He was looking at other tight ends a lot. Pat Bryant stepped up as a blocker. Again, still some issues. There was an alignment penalty on Bryant, but he's a rookie. You got to get those worked out. I still would like to see Pat Bryant worked more in the passing game. He's only got 2 catches on 3 targets so far this season. Like to see him get involved a little bit more. Franklin, he had a good game for it, which was a nice bounce back game after a couple really bad games from Franklin the last couple weeks. So the receivers, they really stepped up and made the plays when needed. Trent Sherfield, there was one that he was close on one of those deeper shots, and he had an impact as a blocker more so than he has in the previous games. I think Sherfield had been really disappointing coming into this one, and he kind of bounced back a little bit, and especially with his blocking and on special teams even. So wide receivers, I mean, hat tip all around, of course. I mean, when you go in and you upset the Eagles like they did coming back in the fourth quarter, hat tip all around. But the wide receivers, they're really showing that they can be a dangerous unit if they can be more consistent and get a little bit more consistency out of Bo Nix.
That's the big thing, man. There was touchdowns to be had. It's like the Chargers game, a little bit more efficiency down to down, but the explosives are there. It's just like, again, we don't want to be too negative after a win like this, but Denver has to be one of the worst metric teams as far as the deep pass game so far this season, with the separation they've had and just opportunities for explosives that have been left. So you can glass half full perspective is you start hitting on those and the offense looks very different. And they're there. They are there. Rob Bucksbaum, good morning. Nik and Eric, happy Victory Monday. Great to see you. And we got Coach Chris again, says, can we give some love to Garrett Bowles? Yeah, he's been awesome. Really happy the Broncos having the wealthy ownership group and what George Payton and Sean Payton are doing together and getting ahead on some of these contracts has been awesome. Bonitto, Surtain, Bowles, Sutton, all of these are looking surplus value, which had not been the case for Denver in years. So again, it's the combination of a healthy ecosystem and having the resources to take care of these guys. But Bowles has been awesome. He was waiting for it to be no back-to-back holding calls on Wattenberg. Sutton, man, that guy took the team on his back. And Ingram finally. The final point I wanted to talk about, and it's Ingram with an E, Coach Chris. I want to get the names right. I can't always pronounce the names right. We're entering draft season here pretty soon, Eric. I need to get on that. I've been too busy to watch too much college football. But final point I wanted to make, and this might just be, the vibes of it as well, and I'm hoping that we see a little bit more going forward. I think the biggest turning point for this game for the Broncos was Bo Nix starting to use his legs on the offense. I think that changed the dynamic of the offense. He was picking up positive plays. I think the Eagles kind of tightened up a little bit when that happened. And Bo Nix, again, he's not Michael Vick as a runner, but he is built. He is strong. He is in the open field. He can give a little shake and bake to get a linebacker or a defensive back kind of planted, right, and get a few extra yards when they don't glance and square on him, so he can not take a big hit and get a few extra yards, the glancing blow. I know that that's not the quarterback pulling down the ball and rushing isn't the basis for an offense long term, but for me in this game, it felt like it was a turning point for the offense, and I hope it's something that we see a little bit more going forward. Again, long term, you need Bo Nix to be better as a drop back passer. Just point blank, period. That's the NFL at the end of the day. But I want to see him utilize the frame and athleticism a little bit more, because I felt like it completely changed the dynamics of the offense. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I felt like in the third quarter, fourth quarter, he started to pull it back a little bit, and the offense started to move the football, and it changed just the dynamic of the offense and how they were dictating terms up front.
Yeah, on that note, is you don't want him to be like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, where the legs are a big part of the offense. At least I don't.
No.
But you want him to show that he is enough of a threat with his legs that it forces the defense to account for it. Because then you're forcing a quarterback spy a little bit. It's just the threat of him using his legs can change how defenses are playing your offense. So I would like to see him utilize it a little bit more, and even Sean Payton utilize it a little bit more. Do a rollout where Bo Nix is just running the ball. It's not actually a passing play. It's just a run. call plays like that, let him utilize his legs, and only need it like maybe 5 times a game, like at most. Just enough to force defenses to account for it, to where it can make things a little bit easier for Bo when it comes to being a better passer, a better pocket passer, because teams then have to account for his legs. Can open up things on rollouts a little bit more, because then maybe that guy that's the back end defender is, being a little bit hesitant to chase the quarterback, chasing Bo Nix, because Bo Nix can take off with his legs and be a threat with that and not run the backside defender. So just need a little bit more for it. I do think that was a part of the offensive adjustments there. I think the play calling also helped. The play calling got a little bit cleaner as well. This was a game where, we've talked about it before, especially in the loss of the Chargers. I thought the play calling was great. Some sequencing issues, sure, but the play calling was great. But this is one where it was a bit rough for the first few quarters, and we started to see it a little bit cleaner in the second half, where in the second half they had a 19 for 19 balance, 19 runs, 19 passes in the second half, and so that helped into it as well. So not just Bo Nix, but they've talked about how they need to find their identity on offense. I think the identity is clear, and it's old school mentality, run to set up the pass. The rushing aspect of it needs to be the identity of this team going forward, because when they rely on the running game to open up the passing game, it works. And that's what worked in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter. They ran more than they passed in the third quarter, and it forced changes from Vic Fangio with the Eagles defense, because they're having success that then opened up the passing game for it. So not just Bo Nix, but the running game in general, that needs to be the identity. And then mixing Bo Nix to just force a change and force him to be accounted for can really open up things for this offense.
And I know it's kind of a double-edged sword on that one, Eric, because we really, the big issue with Bo Nix is the happy feet and looking to escape pockets that are clean way too soon, and just being, high energy, fidgety, I guess, from the pocket, not being the calm, smooth drop back, everything in control. But again, he is an athlete, and when the offense is DOA, especially the pass game like it has been, dropping the ball, protecting yourself and protecting the football, but, dropping and picking up 6, 7, 8 yards, getting out of bounds, that's demoralizing to the opposing defense, and they feel they got to change it up front. And when you're playing a light box team like the Eagles, and that's just a part of your offense, dragging it down more. Bo Nix only had 3 rushes in this game. They must have all been in the fourth quarter, or not close to it, maybe. But I think it just has to be a little bit like right now. Let's just call it as is. The drop back pass game for the most part has been erratic. And especially some of the deep shot stuff. You have a quarterback who is well built, who historically doesn't fumble the football. We've had, one this season and one pretty close one with that Cooper DeJean, one that I was watching on my phone coming out of a pumpkin patch on that one. So I guess they got the call right, but I thought it was a strip sack and a very, very close play when I saw it live. But I just would love to see him utilize his legs a little bit more. Just to give them a little bit more. Long term, it has to be the drop back pass game within the pocket for Bo Nix, but he's a young athlete right now. Let it be a crutch every now and then.
And on that note too, is like, as you said, it could be a double-edged sword, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives with using it, because whenever you look at the offense after a Bo Nix run, after he escapes out of the pocket and takes off and picks up some yards, the offense shows far more energy than they did prior to it. It's a very energizing play for it. And part of that is Bo Nix. He brings a lot of energy to it. And when he does something, when he runs for a first down or even a gain to set him up for a 3rd and short on second down, or, setting them way ahead of schedule on first, whatever the case is, he just energizes the offense, and we see a little bit of better play for a while from the offense. So using that, it can help with the energy on the offense. It can use that to even help settle him down a little bit, of getting him in not necessarily a rhythm, but getting him in that thing of like, okay, I can, if things get muddy, I can use my legs. Don't have to force it. I can rush it, or I don't have to rush it. I don't have to rush my process. I can rely on that. I can extend plays. Like, that should be his mentality already, because we've seen it so much, but it just needs to be taken to that next step from the coaching with Davis Webb and Sean Payton, of your legs are there as a emergency outlet for you. So keep it clean, keep the footwork clean, and then go to the rushing. If it doesn't work, make sure you reset your feet if you're just moving around the pocket. So it's a way that it can be used as an emergency outlet and to get some yards for it on top of, the safety net receiver, typically the running back in the backfield as a safety outlet. So gives him a second option there. Could help him with the drop back passing game if it's coached up right, if it's taught to him right, and if he can get that mentality right.
What a win. Broncos 21-17. Could be a springboard for the season. The Chargers drop another one. That offensive line looks horrific now that they lost both their, let's just call them superstar tackles. Very good tackles, lottery pick offensive tackles. Granted, Broncos lost the head to the Chargers, and both Chargers losses have come against NFC opponents. So Chargers have double up tiebreakers on the Broncos right now, but we're 5 games in. And Denver has a very winnable stretch coming forward. We'll see what happens with the Chiefs tonight. Obviously, we want the Chiefs to lose, but positive for the Broncos is if the Chiefs do win. Jags right now are a feisty team. I think they are the 5th seed ahead of the Broncos right now. So we will see. AFC there's only, 7 spots, but I think there's 8, 9 teams that have a chance right now. It's not like the NFC where like only one of the teams or 2 of the teams are out. The AFC is really already starting to separate, and Denver has a chance in the AFC West with everything in front of them still, and they got some confidence. So got to stay healthy. We'll keep an eye on the Ben Powers injury. Let's hear if we find anything out about JFM and who was the other person who got dinged up in this one? But yeah, Broncos, big win, biggest win in the Sean Payton era. Anything can happen in one game. What matters now is riding the momentum and stacking wins. So hopefully they'll enjoy themselves in London. Team bonding experience. A lot of odds against them. They took care of business. We'll see long term. Maybe by the end of the season, we'll look back and be like the Eagles were, overrated. But for now, it's a huge win and a confidence builder. And Denver will take what they can get. No more undefeated seasons, undefeated teams already this year. So Denver's right in the thick of things. Feeling really good about this team. Feeling great about the defense. Still have plenty to clean up. But a lot of potential for growth still. And that's one of the trademarks of a Sean Payton team. So awesome to see. Vibes are high. Let's go to London and take care of business against a rather dreadful Jets team. And then at home, celebrate Super Bowl 50 winners with the Giants in our Mile High Huddle meet and greet. So appreciate everybody so much coming in here, supporting us. I got to fly because otherwise I'm going to get in trouble from the wife. Rob, I don't know if we said hi to Rob already. I think we did, but thanks, Denver, Luke, Miguel, Coach Chris a few times. God bless you, Coach Chris. You are keeping the lights on for us in here. We appreciate you. That's the number one way to support us, guys. Super chats, anything like that. Or you can become a member. That helps us a heck of a lot as well. Follow Eric and I on Twitter, X, whatever, Erick Trickel and Nik Kendell, MHH. We're also at Mile High Huddle, Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And as that ticker says there underneath, please subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. Again, if you guys have any thoughts, questions, things you wanted to dig in a little bit more, tag us on Twitter. It's always out there. I always toss that out there. I feel like every once in a while, somebody will hit me up on Twitter for something we said. We get things wrong, but we got this game wrong. Eric, I picked the Broncos to lose this one, and they take care of business. So we'll see what happens in London next week with the Broncos, but vibes are high. Just be appreciative of the moment. Obviously, the goal is championships at the end. First, it's the AFC West. We're not there yet based on the record, but keep stacking. Whatever the overall sample shows is what you are, and feeling good after this one. So as fans, we can let it marinate for a little bit.
Yeah, and Denver has the easiest part of their schedule coming up. They have the winless Jets, the only team that doesn't have a win right now. You mentioned no undefeated teams. There's only one team left winless. That's the Jets. Then you have the Giants, the Cowboys, the Texans, and the Raiders going into their Week 11 matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. Denver could realistically be 8-2 going into that game.
Yeah.
So it's a huge stretch of them. This game was a lot of confidence for them. You said it. Stack on wins. Now is the time to stack on those wins for when the season gets a lot tougher from Week 11 on, with the exclusion of the bye week in Week 12.
Yeah, no doubt. When will we miss Powers? We don't know if Powers is out yet. He flew back to Denver because training facilities, evaluation, all their equipment's there. A lot of times you'd be back home anyway before flying out. It's just kind of weird because the London game with a road trip before. So I think it's weird circumstances. We'll find out more today, Wednesday. I think it's probably a 50-50 shot, but it made it sound like we just need to find out more. He played the rest of the game. He still played 100% of the snaps despite the injury. So we'll see. It's a tough matchup next week. Quinnen Williams, one of the better interior defensive linemen. So we'll find out, but appreciate everybody. Oh, we got Marcus coming in here too. I thought I clicked it. I'm trying to figure out this Wi-Fi here.
Got it.
Is it up? I don't see it. Okay, there it goes. Weird. That was a real big delay for me. I like that. Broncos for life. Greetings from Germany. Well, Marcus, hopefully you're there for the game. I know Broncos were really pleading for a Germany game this year. They didn't get it, unfortunately, but hopefully you can get out there to London, and appreciate you so much. I am German heritage myself. Most of us Iowans are. A lot of German farmers out there. So appreciate you, Marcus, coming in. A member as well with the €5. We got to fly. Got to get the kid into daycare. Got to do all our stuff here, unpack. Appreciate you. Eric, always good to see you. I'll see you guys again tomorrow evening. Big win for the Broncos. Big win. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Vibes are good. Riding high. Fly, Broncos, fly. Choose kindness and compassion. Go Broncos.